If you want to make it longer than that, that's fine, that's a little more advanced. But if you're trying to do launches properly, get it done within 1 to 3 days. What's up guys? Welcome to the channel where I introduce tips, tricks and strategies to double or even triple your email revenue that you make from your e-commerce store. Today we're going to talk about the product launch. If you're going to launch a product, you're going to launch multiple products. How should you go about it? How many emails should you send? When should you start? How much should you reveal? How much should you hold back? We're going to go right into all of that in this video. Okay, first off, we're going to run through the launch from A to Z, and then we'll go into one by one. So number one is awareness. You need to build awareness. People will say things like anticipation or buzz, and they just cap it into the same category, but I separate it between awareness and buzz. So awareness is basically the information that you reveal 2 to 8 weeks before, like 2 months before, 3 months. Some people, if you really want to push it, you could do like 1 year before if it's a really something, like if it's necessary to do that much. But generally for most of your products, 2 to 8 weeks before, which is around 2 weeks to like 2 months before the actual launch, does well. Then there's buzz. So the difference between buzz and awareness is that the time frame is too long for them to process any real information. They can only process maximum 2 or 3 things, and those 2 or 3 pieces of information need to be under the same umbrella, under an identity that they can remember. And so buzz hits them with maybe more details, more features, more excitement, more teasing, more reveal. But the basic idea is you don't want to be revealing too much when you're making an announcement 2 to 8 weeks before, because hey, if you're iPhone, that's different. If you're not an iPhone, that's also fine. But the whole idea behind awareness and buzz is taking your product from A to Z, from ideation to launch in the quickest, most efficient way possible, and staying effective. So which means holding back some features is necessary in the beginning, because that's your like ammo, right? So you think about it as like awareness. Then when you approach the date to launch, that's when you reveal most of the details, but you still do not reveal everything. You could just reveal the whole thing. It depends on your business. It depends on the intrinsic identity of the product. Will it lose its appeal if you just reveal everything? So it really depends on the product. Now, how do we do the anticipation and the buzz? We'll go into that later. And number 3 is the pre-launch. So the pre-launch or the early bird sale is generally the launch before the actual launch. These are for your VIP buyers to build buzz, sort of gauge your traction, helps you decide how much should you arrange your inventory for the actual launch date. And it should happen 1 to 2 days before the actual launch, and it should usually accompany a discount. If not, that's fine. But again, these are your VIP buyers, so you keep in mind, if you really want to extend that customer life cycle, you could really offer a discount to incentivize these VIP buyers if sales are a little slow, because during pre-launch is when the VIP buyers get really experience that feeling of like, yo, I'm special, these guys are taking care of me. And number 4, the actual launch. So during the actual launch, which spans from anywhere from 1 to 3 days, if you want to make it longer than that, that's fine, that's a little more advanced. But if you're trying to do launches properly and maximize whatever you have, get it done within 1 to 3 days. And then if you want to get fancy after you've mastered this whole process, right? So now let's get into it one by one. To build awareness, how do we do that properly? A, introduce the identity. So like I said earlier, when it's 2 weeks to 2 months before, they can't really process or capture too much information. So you want to introduce it, like even if you're introducing 2 or 3 pieces of information, they need to be umbrella under the same category. Let's say you're releasing a new protein product. So you're releasing, let's say you normally release a chips or fitness, like you're a keto brand and you normally introduce these healthy chips or like clothes, and then now you're releasing this protein powder. So when you're releasing the protein powder, you just say, hey, a protein powder is coming up. But if it's way before, be like, hey, something's coming up. And then you go closer, it's a protein powder. You go closer, it's a protein powder that has 2 flavors, and it also helps you, it's added with collagen, so it helps with your bones and your skin. That's it, all good, right? And then only when you're trying to build a buzz, or only during the launch or the pre-launch, that's when you say, hey, this is how many grams, of protein, this is the sizes that it comes from, these are the offers for the actual brand, these are the list of ingredients. All those details only come in during the launch, because what you want is to generate demand. What you want is to generate buzz. Then create the sales, because the information, all this other information, they're only information you need to create for them to push over the fence to get the sale. But until that happens, you want to remove all the friction. And so you only introduce the information to build that buzz. You hit your objective, that's good. Hold back the deets, hold back the details. So like I said earlier, don't just reveal everything, only reveal what you need to reveal, so you minimize that friction. When the momentum of the actual launch day comes, that's when the users are amazing at being able to retain and consume all of this information. But until then, you don't want to take any risks, right? The more information they have to hold in, the more likely they'll forget. The more they forget, the more they are unable to create positive associations as they go through their life. The more they can't recall it back. That's so much stress, right? And tease the benefits. So you don't just want to introduce the future. Let's say it's a protein powder. Hey, it's time to add mass. Hey, have you been having trouble trying to eat healthy and lose weight? This is your chance. This is your chance to do it with this benefit, with that benefit. Or like, hey, have you been looking for a protein powder that's keto friendly and has this amount of protein powder and have no fillers? It's coming your way. It's not just like, hey, this is protein powder. So when you talk in terms of benefits, you still don't want to give all the details. You just want to tease the outcomes they can obtain from the product. So that's awareness and buzz. You could use that information for the two. So now we're going to go into the pre-launch. Time for the pre-launch. When you're pre-launching, the 2 biggest problems businesses face is they don't have big enough of a wait list. They don't have a big enough group of people to justify a pre-launch. Yeah, that's mainly what they have. And so when you don't have a big enough group to use for your pre-launch, you don't have enough material or social proof to use and leverage on your actual launch, you don't have enough sales, and you don't have much data to back up the actual inventory you're gonna stock up on the actual launch, and a ton of other things. Pre-launches are amazing, right? So what should you do? Have a waiting list. Number 1, actually have a waiting list. And number 2, don't be afraid. Because the thing about wait lists is people think like, hey, not many people are going to enjoy the brand. Maybe you're a little pessimistic, but actually, in truth, every single business, there's always different kinds of buyers. They're always in a few buckets or segments, which means there's the non-active buyers, there's the first-time buyers, there's the hyperactive buyers, there's the buyers that are about to leave the customer life cycle. So these segments get treated differently. They have to be treated differently. And if you communicate a message according to where they are in this life cycle, you get a much higher response rate, and that's what we call segmentation or personalization in this whole email marketing world. And so, yeah, have a waiting list. Don't be afraid to get out and communicate to these people who are hyper buyers, or even if you don't have any hyper buyers, just go for the first time buyers. They are way more hyper than the actual non-buyers anyways. And even if you are unable to have any data on all of that, just say, hey, we have a waiting list. Get on board today if you want in. Make sure you sign up 1 week before. If they actually sign up, they're actually pretty hyper, or else they wouldn't be signing up for your pre-launch. And now the actual launch. How should you approach the actual launch? Well, that really depends on the product you have, how much inventory you have, and stuff like that. So if the sale is lasting 1 to 3 days or even a single day, it's a launch. It happens very rarely, and people love things happening in their lives. Even a product launch is pretty exciting for them. If you think a product launch is not exciting, you're not thinking of a product that you're consuming. I love coffee, and if my favorite brand launches a new bag of beans, even if I hate the freaking thing, I'd still want to catch up on it because it's just exciting. It's relevant. It's tied up to my interests. It's directly contributing to my life. Like, I need to pay attention to decide if I want this or not. And as much as dry as that sounds, your brain just communicates it in like, hey, pay attention, pay attention. And to the user, that's just like, hey, this is good content. Hey, I need this. I may not buy it, but I'd like to keep tabs on it. So that's the launch. Don't be afraid to send out multiple emails, many emails on the launch day or on the launch days. And that's about it. So I'm gonna run through that one last time. The awareness 2 to 8 weeks before. Build awareness, don't give out too much, but make sure you tease the benefits, you communicate that. As you approach close to launch date, build buzz, build a lot of buzz, be more exciting, add more energy, tease more benefits, perhaps introduce 1 or 2 extra features. Pre-launch, have the opt-in list, maybe like around awareness or buzz, like have an early waiting list. And when you actually launch, don't be afraid to use an incentive or 2 to really cement those buyers, to really retain those repeat buyers, right? And on launch day, don't be afraid to email multiple times. Just go for it. If you feel like people really would get affected by it, then segment your email list. Don't send it to people who have not opened your emails in the past 30 days. Don't send it to people who have not opened 3 or 5 emails in the past 30 days. Don't send it to people who have not purchased from you over 60 days. So, yep.